Hi everybody, this is Alchemist 2, and I'm back with another book review. This is about the fascinating book called The Measure of All Things, The 7-Year Odyssey and Hidden Error That Transformed the World. It's by Ken Elder, and this is about the metric system, how the metric system was actually implemented. This is Jean-Baptiste Joseph Delorme at 52. It talks about his life in great detail, and as well as Pierre-François-André Machin. The two actually were really great friends to begin with, and actually, Bleeding Players, I like this the best because it gives you a really good backstory. Jean-Baptiste Joseph Delorme, he was an astronomer who led the northern portion of the Meridian expedition in 1792-99. Delorme finished his career as the permanent secretary of the Paris Academy of Sciences. He also became head of the history department as well. You figure that out later when you're reading the book. And Pierre-François-André Machin, he was also an astronomer. He led the southern portion of the Meridian expedition in 1972-99 with the assistance of the cartography engineer Jean-Joseph Tranchot. Machin married Barbe-Thérèse Marjou. Their eldest son, Jérôme Isaac, served on Napoleon's Egyptian expedition, and their youngest son, Augustin, assisted Machin on his second mission to Spain, from which he never returned. Actually, he did die, and that was really quite sad. And he told of Delorme what had happened, because he was thinking, why is Machin being so secretive? He's been very upfront about everything else, and he's keeping all of his documentation and postulations secret. All of his articles, he was keeping all that to himself, basically. And then you have Lalande, and Lalande is a very interesting person. He believed in some of the old-fashioned weights and measures, which was kind of ironic because he was a supporter. He was a philosopher. In the High Enlightenment tradition, he was an avid atheist, friend of Voltaire, and still most famous astronomer in the universe. He was the maître of both Delorme and Machin. And it's a very long book, and there are really great illustrations here, but it talks about geodesy, which geodesy was a study of the Earth, and the measurement of the Earth and its size, which is how actually the système métrique actually began. And I hate saying this as an American, but oddly enough, the metric system makes more sense. And so there were some French people that did not approve of the metric system at all. They were staunch haters of the system. They had their advocates, and then they had those who disapproved, and they thought it was the worst thing ever. And of course, Matisse, he makes this grave error, and it's not really found until after he dies on his second expedition, the one where he was in Spain. And it's just really quite a fascinating book if you ever want to know how the metric system was implemented, and how Lalande helped them out, and his absolutely implementary device, and how revolutionary it was at the time. And it was prone to error because it could be a little bit wonky, and it would not measure correctly due to the terrain they were trying to survey. And it goes back to how weights and measures actually began. Josephus, at the very end, it says, Josephus, the oldest known historian, said that weights and measures actually could be traced to Cain, whom, after he killed his brother Abel, was the first surveyor of the land, and made it that much more difficult for human beings to actually enjoy the land that they were given, though they had to work it and till it by the sweat of their brow. And I did kind of laugh at that. I thought, yeah, it's all Cain's fault. Darn you, Cain. But interestingly enough, you learn more about Dalam and Mishan and Lalonde, and how Dalam actually he didn't know what his vocation was going to be. I thought, yeah, I can relate to Dalam, because I'm still in that position. He wanted to be an astronomer in the worst of ways, and he did finally reach his goal, and he made a great name for himself in the society, I should say, of astronomers and weights and measures, and as a history teacher, as the forefront history teacher of his day. Once the metric system was actually accepted by this, it was turned down many times before it was finally accepted by the society, because a revolution was coming, and there are a lot of people who had different beliefs in what the revolution actually signified at that time. And you learn a lot about what was going through the minds of the French populace and the bourgeois, and it's just really fascinating stuff. I absolutely love it. I love French history, because I love France and I really want to go, but just one more reason why I love France. And they even talk about the female astronomers. I thought, yay, I'm not alone. Although mine is more a I don't do it to figure things out. I just do it because I love to look up at the stars and just sit and wonder at our small planet, just like a mote of dust on a sunbeam, like Carl Sagan said so poetically so long ago. You will encounter in this book that John Quincy Adams was a big proponent of the metric system, and I thought, really? I did not know this. I had no idea. And it should have remained, but we just didn't accept it, and we're still one of the few countries that doesn't. And it said, they had this argument at the very end that the U.S., our system of measurement, we were this oligarchy, this capitalist state that wanted to impose its will on the rest of the world. I don't think that's necessarily true. It was kind of written in tongue-in-cheek anyway by Mr. Alder, and I thought, yeah, you're probably right there, Ken. But still, it was just really very well written book, and you get to learn more about Descartes and Voltaire. Well, it doesn't really talk that much about Descartes, Voltaire, and the enlightened thinkers of the age, the savants, and just the different people who were instrumental in getting the bill passed for the bas système de métrique finally passed. But it is really fascinating, and of course Dalam fixed the error that Babtiste actually made. And Babtiste is so convinced that he was right, even though even though it had been calculated many different times. It was the same grievous error again and again and again. And that's probably why he didn't want anybody to see his essays, but he was very protective and possessive about them until, of course, when he died in Augustin, sent all the papers to Dalam, and Dalam made it possible to figure out what would be published and what would be kept secret. But really, it's just quite the interesting book, and if you ever way to pick it up and just give it a look, you might learn something. And it actually transformed the way the calendar was read, and the saint days were transformed to fall another time of the year. I forget how they actually state it, but there's quite a lot of good information here, and it gave me a whole new respect for just how long it took them to get this all situated. And then it was kind of sad when Matisse kind of drifted away from Delhomme, because they were just such great brothers in arms, and the whole discipline of astronomy, I should say. And this time of history, it was really quite an opening, just kind of enlightenment, like the title of the era was. And I think that's all I had to say about The Measure of All Things, and just tremendous book. If you have a chance to check it out, I would more than recommend it, especially for those of you who are the great number crunchers and bean counters out there who would understand it on a more deep level than myself. But I respected it as well. Till next time. Ciao tutti!